Oh, I see the check mark there. Here we go.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mind Your Business Show. I am your host, Milt Walker, joined today by none other than Tony Holloway, the private money Godfather. How are you today, sir?
What's going on there, Maestro?
What's going on, bro?
Hey, folks, this is different. Okay, we're actually in Studio B1 here at the office of the Private Money Syndicate, and I got my my partner here, the guy who makes it all happen. And again, this morning, he's setting everything up for us to be on Facebook Live. But we're here in the same place at the same time, which is actually real cool. Yeah. So, I want to thank all of you for making the Mind Your Business Show an important part of your Saturday and an important part of your life. And I want to wish everybody a belated happy Thanksgiving. And as I was telling him, I said, I think as usual, I ate too much, and I always say that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Right.
And lots of
traditionally, you
eat
too much.
Yeah. So I got a few folks that had some of their special dishes. I want to go by and get a little plate or a little taste of or whatever like that. So that's going to be part of my day to day. But folks, today, yes, we're here in the office at the Private Money Syndicate, and our topic this week is the Maestro. It said talk tech with the Maestro. So we want to certainly ask, and I don't know how this works because he's usually operating the chat and all that stuff from a different location, so we can. But we want to ask you to put your comments in chat. Are we able to view the chat and all that?
Yeah, I got the chat pulled up right
Okay,
here.
well, hey man, this dude's got it all.
We're ready to go.
He's got it all figured out.
We're ready to go.
All right, so again, now the key things we want to focus on, and this came from a conversation he and I were having, in I think it was last Saturday after we finished the show, about all the different technology that is affecting our lives on a day-to-day basis, not only in business but just the general uses of technology. And so what we want to do is talk about that, bring that into focus, because I'm sure many of you are like me. You're starting to think about, okay, we're coming to the end of 2021. It's been an exciting year, 2020 and 2021, because of COVID. And technology has been more, I guess, been forced to carry some of the burden of people working virtually and just so much less human interaction and more with machines and so forth. So there's an opportunity for you to employ some of these resources in your business and in your life. So no better person to talk about that than the Maestro. So since some people might not be familiar with you as a person, why don't you give them a rundown, 2 or 3 minutes on your background in the technology space, and I'll let you have the mic.
Okay. Hey, thank you, Tony, for all that you've done and all that you do to support not just me, but entrepreneurs and real estate entrepreneurs, and people who are looking to start their dreams, because it's amazing. A lot of times, in today's society, even with the free flow of information with the internet and everything, people still don't know where to go. They still don't know what to do, right? And it's such a blessing to have people like you out here that are helping people to reach those goals.
Well, I appreciate that.
So that's my Thanksgiving my Thanksgiving gratitude statement for the private money Godfather here.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. And one of the things I say to that point is, there's more information than ever, seemingly less understanding. And I think that what we seek to bring to folks is an understanding, which is when things become useful. So,
Absolutely.
At that point,
it's a marriage, right? It's a marriage
Exactly.
of the two. It's not just about being able to have it. And that's kind of what we're talking about here with the technology as well.
Bingo. Yeah. So again, tell them, where you, old country folks say where you from, who you folks, give them a rundown on your background, or as the Duke would say, your pedigree.
Right. So I grew up in Columbus, Georgia. I was born on Moody Air Force Base. My dad was in the Air Force. He got honorably discharged so that he could take care of me and my older brother. And we've been with him. He raised us, and he's raised us on a lot of the military principles of being ready and not making sure you do things right the first time.
Right.
Stuff like that. Measuring twice, cutting once. All of these principles, this old wisdom. Got transmitted through him to us, and but one of the things that I never really had growing up was in our communities, just in general, was somebody teaching us how to be entrepreneurs. So for me, how that all started with me was, in the neighborhood, I've always been fascinated with technology.
Right.
I grew up in the 80s. And this was the time when the digital age was really kind of just starting. Computers were coming on the scene. Personal computers were coming on the scene, and you had game systems. You had all these things that were starting to come out that were enabling people to experience life in a different way.
Okay.
And so, with that being said, I grew up in that age, and I became very fond of technology, and as I started using it more and more and more, I started using those analytical skills that my dad had imparted into us at an early age, because he was teaching us how to read before we even went to kindergarten.
Okay.
So
cool.
we knew how to write in cursive in kindergarten.
Really?
So yeah. So I mean, all of those skills and things kind of just translated. So me. And I put it into technology. So I used to fix things around the house, obviously, all the time. I would have to, hook things up for my family. And then from there, just kind of expanded, to the community, to the neighborhood. Everybody would see me and say, hey, Milt, you know how to do this? And, so I'd be like,
Right.
okay, yeah, and I do it. And I just do it because I love it, and so that's really my background, just helping people.
Well, as you were talking about that, it just, hit a chord in my mind that you are passionate. I think that most people find their greatest joy when they're doing something that they're passionate about. And obviously this passion that you have for technology and so forth emerged from your youth till today. So, yeah. Well, go ahead and share some of the training and some of the places you worked and everything, and there's a point to all of this. And the first point, or there's several points. The first one is this guy is, he looks humble and unassuming, but he's a sharp dude. I'm telling y'all. He definitely has some skills. So tell him where those skills came from there, Maestro.
Yeah, so and it started right here in our humble little town. I went to Columbus Technical College, and I was taking up Microsoft Certified Network Administrator.
Okay.
And this was back in the early 2000s. So we're talking about 2003, 2005. In between those times, I'm going to school to learn, because again, from that point of what I was speaking about before to the point where I decided, I want to actually improve my knowledge in this, because up until that point, I had really been teaching myself a lot of things.
Right.
So in order for me to grow, I knew that I needed to expand my knowledge. So I went to Columbus Technical College. I took up, a lot of the certifications that, are kind of key in today's day and age, A+, Net Plus. I did some programming logic. I did a lot of interpersonal relationship skill classes and stuff like that, algebra, and just kind of started into that world with that. And then from there, I have always maintained my wish to self-educate. Yeah. And so a lot of things came from me going to online courses through Udacity, through platforms like Coursera, getting certifications from places like Google, Microsoft, and getting, nano degrees, and just really just kind of always building and learning. And that led me to I would say one of the pinnacles of my career was when I did the consultancy with the state of Georgia, where I had to manage 3,000 devices across the entire state.
Wow.
And I was responsible for actually architecting solutions for the education department in this particular governmental agency,
Right.
so that they could provide education to people throughout the state of Georgia.
So remote learning, I guess.
Right, remote learning, yeah.
Virtual learning, which is what we
Virtual
call it,
learning,
which
yeah.
is prevalent nowadays. But this was back in the early mid 2000s.
Well, this particular consultancy was actually in 2018.
Okay, so
Yeah, so
fairly recent. Okay.
So it's fairly recent when I did that. That was like the pinnacle. But before that, I had been doing work for Dell, AT&T.
All right.
I had projects, and that project was actually it was a statewide project as well, and it was actually right here in Columbus. They were redoing the network out on one of the state hospital facilities, and I was the technician that they hired to oversee that, to make sure that when AT&T transitioned the network, that all of the devices actually still worked on that network. So I had to troubleshoot, and I actually ended up solving a pretty big issue because they were doing this. It was a statewide project, and they kept running into this same issue, and I was able to find out what the issue was, and it was so funny because I was on a call with maybe about 3 or 4 AT&T engineers, and Dale was on the call, and I was in there, and we were in like this facility, and we were testing these things, and they're looking on their end, and then when I found the issue, I say, oh, this is probably it, and so I did it, and it fixed it for them, and they were like, wow, they were like, we've been trying to figure this out, like.
Well, hey, you're the genius.
And I was like that, but for me, it was a very uplifting moment because it made me feel good about what I was doing, because I was having an impact. I was actually
making a difference.
Yeah, making a difference. You know, so.
Well, how do we check to see who we've got watching and any shout outs?
Yeah, so Ebony is joining us this morning.
Hey there,
she says, good morning, gentlemen. She says, oh, this is cool, under the same roof today. Yep, we decided to change it up, give y'all a little different version of the Mind Your Business show after your Thanksgiving,
Yeah, this is the parallel to sitting around watching football and rubbing your tummy,
Right, exactly. You get to watch us for a little while.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. All right. Anybody else?
No, that's it for right now.
Well,
everybody else is just watching.
Gotcha.
So,
Hey, well, Ebony, thanks, and hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving yourself. All right, so let's transition to talking about the topic at hand, technology in our lives. What are some of the emerging technologies that you just see it starting to proliferate in use on an individual level, and some trends that you think are going to be coming over the next 2, 3, 4 years or so?
Yeah, so everybody's talking right now. You get these buzzwords out here. Everybody's talking about cryptocurrency. Everybody's talking about the blockchain,
Right.
And that's one of the major industries that in the next 5 to 10 years is going to be majorly disrupted. Right now, you see major names, banks, cities starting to adopt digital currency in the way that they operate.
Yes.
You start to see there's actually a couple of cities, and you guys can go and research this yourself, that actually they're paying their government workers. They have the option to pay them in Bitcoin.
Is that right?
That's right.
Wow.
Even the mayor actually opted into getting his salary in Bitcoin.
Okay, since we're on that topic, one of the capital partners we have who bring all the money that was coming from offshore, go through HSBC London and then come in, but it would have to go through the Federal Reserve for anti-money laundering review, and with COVID, it's just been taking forever and ever.
Right.
So his solution is to now use blockchain, and wherever it comes from, it bypasses, which is some of the.
Actually, it doesn't.
Well, correct.
It doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't bypass. See, what happens is blockchain is built on a different. It's built on a different technology.
Okay.
Right. So So Bitcoin, when you choose to go through the blockchain, it has its own self-verification process, which is called decentralized banking, right? So it doesn't have to be centralized. No one has to monitor it because the system itself is built to actually monitor itself. In other words, so what happens is we can create a contract on the blockchain. Starts with me, I send it to you, you verify it, and then it sends it back to me. There's no in between. That means it keeps the fees down because there's no middlemen to pay.
Okay.
But it also keeps it secure because the registry, which is what, a lot of people keep hearing about, cryptocurrency mining and stuff like that. So what that is there's nodes out on the blockchain that maintain a registry of the transactions happening on the blockchain. And you can't destroy that by just taking out one registry. You have to take out all of them. But that's virtually impossible. The computing power necessary to do that does not exist in the current universe. So it's very secure, right? So even the U.S. government, as I just mentioned, banks are starting to accept digital currency as well. They're starting to deal in digital currency because this is a new. It's a change in the way that the financial system itself is going to operate. Like you said, he's gonna deal with that.
I've obviously got a lot of learning to do about crypto. My son and I were talking about it. I consider myself an intelligent person, but it's maybe I'm so deep into the way things have been. So what would you say to someone who's looking to either invest in cryptocurrency? I hear people talking about mining cryptocurrency. I don't understand mining cryptocurrency, but or if it's a matter of them doing their financial transactions, are there certain advantages that people can seek to take it to employ now, based on what you understand?
Yeah, absolutely. The technology is becoming more and more accessible to just the lay person, the person who doesn't really understand the technology. You have several apps out there that actually, that like Coinbase is one of them, where they actually pay you in cryptocurrency to learn about cryptocurrency. So that's a very good tool for people to start off using. But it's always, and it's just like you said, and just like the business that you're in right now, you should go and you should talk to the people in that field, or you should learn the information that you're trying to, because it's so broad.
Right.
And I've kind of condensed it, but so you have what they call, we talked about decentralization, but now you have what they call DeFi. So it's decentralized finance, but we're talking about the whole ecosystem of IT being decentralized. So that includes applications. So they're looking for people who can develop applications for the blockchain. They're looking for people who, and another thing that's been very popular, that a lot of people have kind of seen in today's day and age is what they call NFTs, right?
Okay.
So with the NFTs, a lot of creative people use those because they're what you call a smart contract on the blockchain that nobody can hack. So you can sell it. So you sell your art without using a third party, without having to have a record label. You can sell your music without having to have a distributor. You can sell your artwork without, so, and it's very secure. So some of these things that people are selling are, millions of dollars. They sell it for millions of dollars. I think it was one rapper, he was talking about his NFTs that he had that were going, his album was going for $50,000 a piece.
Amazing. Now, what does NFT stand for?
It's and it's kind of funny. The name is it's kind of funny. So but I encourage you guys to go out here and look it up. But it's non-fungible tokens.
Non-fungible tokens.
Okay, so it basically saying that
you can't make this up.
You can't. Right. you can't fraud it, right?
Okay,
You can't create a duplicate of this.
Okay.
See,
Can't counterfeit it.
You can't counterfeit it
Okay.
because it has a token assigned to it that's on the blockchain. See, it's the technology that's enabling this type of ecosystem where people can. I was having a conversation. I was talking to people about this, and I was saying, it's almost like going back to the barter system, where I have an item that's of value to me. You have an item that's of value to you, and we exchange it. We set the value of that, right? See, and that's what people kind of get confused about cryptocurrency, because they're like, how is it getting the value of that? The people are setting the value. We are actually putting the value into it. It's not set by any centralized banking system. It's set by the actual people. Right. So the more people who adopted Bitcoin, that's why Bitcoin is up to where it is now.
Well, I think on that very point, before we move on to another topic, people investing in Bitcoin.
Right.
So what is it that in us ascribing value is increasing that value? Is it because more people are using it, or is it the value or the cost or price of the things that they're running through it? In other words, to me, I perceive it as an index. I'm not actually buying it, I'm tracking it. Now, or am I wrong on that?
Right. So again, you got to think back, because people think the dollar. Let's say the dollar, for instance, right? It's a debt note, right? So it's a note of debt. In the blockchain, a token is not a note of debt. It's a note of value, meaning that it's assigned to a value. So that particular, just say for instance, like the Bitcoin, right? The Bitcoin is actually backed by US dollars, by any currency, because it's non-centralized, because it's decentralized. It can be backed by any currency. There is no. It doesn't have to have a specific backing when it comes to that, because the concept is. It's so funny, because one of the first things you heard when Bitcoin started blowing up was people buying sports cars with Bitcoin. They took one Bitcoin and bought a sports car and stuff like that, right? So it's like, it's so funny because. Again, it's the value of whatever it is that we're talking about. But it gets confusing just because, people, you have to understand what a smart contract is. You have to understand that what you're really doing is having a contract with someone, right? So
Gotcha.
in a currency, that is the people. So now you have this much.
Currency circulates, but Bitcoin is always a mano a mano type of transaction.
Right, but there's a certain amount of Bitcoin in circulation as well.
Oh, wow.
And it increases based on the value that people put into it.
Got it.
So if I add this laptop if I sell it for Bitcoin, then I've added value to the Bitcoin. You see,
because it's value.
Because now it's tied into that.
Okay.
But and that's why when you withdraw that value into like US dollars, right, you're taking it out of it. But that's the fluctuation of the market. But it's never, you see what I'm saying? So and again, this is
better
all,
understanding.
Right. This is all going back to, so you need to talk to this guy about economic principles to understand this, but you apply it into a digital way.
And again, if we go, because obviously we probably have a separate episode on Bitcoin. As I'm visualizing this in a sense, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, it's kind of like transitioning in some way back to gold, because gold always had a clear value. Okay. Right. Whereas currency is, just a representation.
And gold
is
was
global.
global.
Right.
You see? So it wasn't centralized.
Yeah.
See, that was the key to it. But when they started moving the value into debt notes, then it became centralized, and then you were able to actually, do all the things that. And again, it's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's just it's a fallible system. What they came to find out, and the reason why the guy who developed the blockchain was developing it, well, one of the guys, is because it's a well-known fact that the system is fallible. It actually does not work. Because that's why you have so many crashes. You have all of these adjustments that you have to do to keep the system
managed. Right. Yeah.
Right. You have to manage it. But see, these these actual I'll give a shout out. Marlon Brooks is joining us. He says AI and machine learning will be automating a lot of jobs in the next few years. That's absolutely true. That's one of the topics we're going to talk about. Ebony says yes, and it is so wise to start investing now. Do your due diligence and research, exactly. But it is most definitely the way forward. Absolutely. Marlon Brooks comes back to say there are different blockchains also. And Edward Winton is saying good morning. Hey. And I wanted to speak about that comment that he made about there being different blockchains. See, that's another thing that people don't know as well, because a blockchain is what we consider, you can think about it as like a network, like the internet. It can be its own internet, meaning things circulate in that ecosystem independently, right? Ethereum is one, right? Blockchain, Bitcoin is its own currency, right, on the blockchain. But Ethereum has its own tokens or cryptocurrencies as well. Excuse me. And some of them are built, and a lot of them are built on the Ethereum token. I remember we were having a conversation before about moving to digital signatures or using digital signature software that's actually on Ethereum, on the Ethereum blockchain. That's how those signatures are notarized, because they actually it's actually legally notarizing the document.
You know, and I was I guess it was maybe a month ago, and we were, one of my clients who's in New York buying property here, it was asking, are they able to do a digital closing? And I mean, he was actually saying that, you know, he heard about that being able to be done. And again, unfortunately, the closing didn't happen because there was some issue with title that the seller wasn't able to resolve. But, you know, I was thinking, you know, I always think of people sitting around the table, passing documents, signing them and everything, or somebody actually going a mobile notary. I've got a cousin who's an attorney. She goes all around Metro Atlanta, you know, doing that. But now it could be pumped out on, I guess, as a link on an email. You go in there and all the attributes are settled.
And here's what's happening behind the scenes. And I'll just say this because I want people to understand, like, so what happens is you're assigning an address on the blockchain for that contract, and then it gets populated everywhere throughout the whole entire blockchain. So if you even though it's encrypted and people can't read it, people know that it exists. So therefore, no one can fraud. You know, they can't counterfeit it, as you said. You know, they can't make a duplicate contract and say, "Oh no, this is the contract that we had." You know, because it's actually encrypted and it's signed and stamped with that address on the blockchain. You know,
when you say address, think about like
I'm saying it. Well, I'm saying it like that so people can understand. But it's actually information, right? So it's just it's actually stored on the blockchain. But you can think of it like an address, like an IP address. You know, but it's really just pointing to where it lives on the blockchain. And then imagine that being duplicated and multiplied, you know, to the point where nobody can counterfeit it. Because once they try to, like, say, for instance, they go all the way around the world to Australia, and they try to say, "Oh no, I'm the real Tony Calloway, and I actually bought this yacht." You know, I don't know what that other one is. It can be linked back to you. That you own it. You know, and they can't counterfeit it, because once they check that token, it's going to be different.
That's amazing.
You know.
All right. Well, any other comments that you want to respond to, and then we'll go on to some other things here.
Yeah. So Marlon Brooks, he's saying the metaverse will be huge. Someone bought $2.4 million of real estate within the metaverse recently. Okay, and for all you out there that might be,
don't know what the metaverse
know what the metaverse is, you know, the metaverse is a digital version of the universe, right? So it can literally be whatever we make it at this point, because it hasn't been made yet, right? But it's something that that a lot of people are talking about. Even the platform that we're on right now, right? Facebook. They changed their parent. They broke Facebook away from right, Facebook, and turned Facebook into Meta, right?
Gotcha.
Because they see the future of where everything is going.
Well, being somebody who's, I guess, into language, meta means change, like metamorphosis and stuff.
Exactly.
So when I saw that, I said, okay,
Yeah.
it's changing.
Right.
All right, well, let's pick up another topic.
Okay.
And again, this is just things, gaming. I mean, like gaming is an industry. I mean, it's transformed from the Atari, which is, probably the only video game ever played.
Nice.
But, to the extent that now artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and all these things, and from the standpoint that I can obviously see opportunities evolving to where people are able to, I guess, monetize. One of the ways some of this gaming is monetized is through competitions and things like that. And I was talking to Darnell. He was telling me that they've got some new audio earbuds to go with games that are really unique. He had sent me a link to it. So this is calling the Duke, Darnell Collins, who is part of the private money syndicate advisors. Some products that they're bringing to market or having it available for private labeling or white labeling is addressing the growth in this industry. So for those who are in the games and things like that, what are some of the technological applications, evolutions, or implementations that you see are going to be continuing to accelerate going into the future?
Absolutely. So, and it's actually a great segue that we just did into this topic, because the metaverse and cryptocurrency are marrying to create a new type of gaming. They have cryptocurrency games now, where you can go into the game, and by being in the game and playing the game, you earn cryptocurrency. And that currency can be used to buy real world things. Okay, so this is a concept. And again, I want people to understand a lot of these technologies are developing and coming together, but ultimately there's going to be a conversion where everything comes together.
Okay.
Right. So there's going to be, so just say, for instance, the metaverse is going to be, it's going to be a game where you're going to be in virtual reality, right? And you're going to actually be walking through this like a real place, right?
Like the movie Avatar.
Like the movie Avatar, or
Okay.
if anybody has seen it, Ready Player One, which I read the book too. The book was better than the movie, but the movie wasn't too bad. So in this movie, it showed like a whole world where this guy created this metaverse basically, and everybody would go to it. Everybody would be in there. And I always tell people, this is, with that being said, you're going to have currency. And in the movie, it shows you. It says, the guy who's like the protagonist,
right.
He actually gets a winning of digital currency. And then he goes and buys a haptic suit, which is just a suit that he can feel like the world around him.
Right.
He went and bought like the best version of that and had it shipped to him in real life. You see, so this is where it's going, where you can actually be in the game, but then
right.
you can have something shipped to you in real life, or vice versa, right? You can buy it in real life and then have a digital version of it, like when we was talking about NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple of NFTs myself. They're NFT comic books.
Okay.
That DC was giving away when they did their big NFT reveal. See, and that's why a lot of these companies are starting to adopt and starting to do these things, because that's where the entertainment, not just gaming, but the
right.
entertainment industry.
Yeah.
But the gaming industry is going to be crazy, because like you said, there's already, tournaments that you can go to and do for millions of dollars. There's a pro circuit of gaming, right? And so, and it's so funny because a lot of people look at it like, oh, they're just, sitting around doing nothing all day. But no, they're training and they're doing this, and then
it's a competition, so you
right.
practice
right.
and all the things. Whether you're playing tennis or basketball, or it's
right.
it's in the metaverse.
Yeah, exactly. And then they come out and then they go live their lives, But again, they're doing what they love.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
But yeah, no. So when it comes to the technology and how everything is coming, like right now, you can on Google Maps, we'll use that as an example. You have an AR version, which is augmented reality version of Google Maps. It'll lead you, if you hold your phone up, it'll show you your route in real time. So you'll see the building, but you'll see a route as it's taking you around the corner to go to your next stop.
As a matter of fact, I was looking at some property yesterday, and it had a virtual tour.
That's another industry.
And so, I was trying, and I noticed as I kind of did like this, it was showing me around inside the room, and I was like, wow, okay.
And another interesting thing about that is, see, with that, they can create virtual furniture and all of that, and they don't have to necessarily spend money to stage things, right? So now it's virtual, right? And then they can take that and they can, put that in any one of them. They don't necessarily have to go and buy something for each one they want to stage, right? So this is the power of the technology that we're talking about. But it is a change, like what you're talking about. It is a change in the way that we do things. But there's all industries, just like Marlon said, are going to be impacted. Wow. So, whether it's, physically, whether it's physical work, having robots that can actually do the work that humans are doing right now. And I know a lot of people that topic may scare a lot of people, but it actually should free you, because you should feel free to take it upon yourself and learn more about these other fields and how you can play a part in that change.
And that's why we're having this episode, just to bring some of these things to the surface in the conversation, get some clarity on some things. Now, if you need to get your technology right, you're experiencing this live, unless you're watching it on YouTube after the fact. But Silver Lining Consulting, he's the Chief Technology Officer for the Private Money Syndicate, and the only thing I can point to, just to give you some tangible evidence, is go to privatemoneysyndicate.com, our website. That's his I say the showroom model. But in many other areas of technology, we'll get to the business stuff and why you should consider having your own virtual chief technology officer if you're serious about business, if you're serious about going next level in 2022 and beyond. Then this guy evidently understands these things, and you need somebody to guide you, and that's exactly what I needed, and he delivered. So that's why we're having this discussion today. Now, the last thing before we kind of focus specifically on business, for our time runs out, it's amazing how fast an hour goes by. Is we were talking about autonomous vehicles and all these other things, and I got on this topic. My granddaughter, who will be 6, said she wanted a car for her Christmas.
Imagine that.
Yeah, and so we started saying, well, hey, with these self-driving vehicles, I guess a 6-year-old could have a car,
right,
and stuff. So let's talk about some of these automations that are, in the transportation space. Aviation has a lot of that, and anything else that it applies to.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what we were talking about, right? Machine learning, AI, autonomous vehicles, whether it be drones, whether it be cars, whether it be trucks on the distribution route, right? We're talking about right now how there's a distribution disruption, right? Now just imagine in a world where all of that is automated, where your distribution networks are automated, and these trucks, they run 24/7 because they don't have to rest, right? So this is what you're looking at, and we were just talking about this, about the cars specifically, and I was telling you that there was a car, and there's probably more now, but one of the first cars was Google's car, and I think it was an Acura, if I'm not mistaken, but it actually got its license to drive in the state of Nevada because because it drove for over 1 million miles without an accident.
Wow. Now, how was it fueled? It just dawned on me, was it electric
Yeah, so this particular car was a hybrid, actually. It was actually a hybrid because this was some years ago. This was some years ago. Now it's a lot further along than it's been. As you mentioned, you was talking with your son, and he was talking about, oh yeah, they're riding around everywhere. Now it's like a commonplace thing, and
Right.
what people don't really know, but and then again, they may know, but all Teslas, pretty much all Teslas are autonomous.
That was my first time riding in a car where the guy wasn't driving the car. I was telling him, he and I were sitting, the driver and I were sitting talking. He's looking at me and not at the road. He said, "Oh, the car's been driving itself since we got on 285. Now it's been 3, 4, 5 minutes, and we drove for 20 minutes."
And you can't even tell the difference,
right? Yeah,
even though he was looking at you.
Right, yeah. I mean, he saw I was uneasy with his not paying attention to the road.
He took the cue.
I'm like, hey, and I actually drove a Genesis that was self-driving, and it took a few seconds for me to not want to grab the wheel going around turns, but after I saw it had it, I said, all right. I sat back, folded my arms, and rode for a little bit, it was a test drive. So, so as you just mentioned, though, with in transportation distribution, the ability to expand time because you don't have the limitations of human needing rest and things like that, certainly it creates value. And, as I think people, as you said, may be frightened by the notion of people not having work. The fact of the matter is, in fact, if you ever watch Star Trek, nobody ever talks about money other than the Ferengis, I guess.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
but
right.
Everything
is
a
whole.
Everything is.
I am a Trekkie.
Okay.
I love Star Trek.
You and Matthew
so,
can get into that.
I love it.
But my point is that as value is continuously created, people are able to enjoy their time because fundamentally. We exchange this time and talent for money that we can then use to engage the time and talent of others, so that we, get the civilization that we have. So all these things are just creating different models for how we do things. And again, going back to in the old days, the barter system, and then we evolved to the commerce system. So now we're in the metaverse system, I guess,
and
decentralized system. So I think that all of us need to become aware. It's not going backwards, so get comfortable. But the most important thing, which is, again, the focus of why we're bringing this to discussion, is don't get left behind.
Right. And it's an interesting point about that I want to make because and Marlon actually talked about it a little bit here.
Okay.
He said you can buy electric vehicle charging stations, create your own electric gas station. It just what it is you have to change the way that you think. So you have to think outside of the box. You can't think in the traditional way, right? So you have to ask yourself, because when and you can probably answer this question because this is your field of study. When were most of the crazy rich people made crazy rich? During
the
disruption
where the railroad industry was created,
industrialization.
Let's call it the era of industrialization,
right? Yeah. So they disrupted the way that things happened, the way how it was happening,
mass production, mechanization, all these kind of things.
All that stuff started happening, and they capitalized on that.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
They capitalized on that, but you have to you have to educate yourself. And you have to stay open in your mind and you have to say, well, how can I do this? And I always use this one example when I talk to people because, when it comes to like the distribution network and stuff like that, just like what Marlon, that's actually a really good example as well. But, when it comes to trucks, like truck drivers, right? So, okay, what they asked the question and a lot of them have protested and did a lot of things like this. So what do I do now that, the truck is going to be driving itself, right? And the question is not, what are you going to do? Is what do you want to do? Because you can literally buy a self-driving truck for yourself, as a truck driver, and run it, and you be at home having your coffee and talking to your wife and spending time with your children or going hiking or doing whatever it is that you love to do in life. Still make your money,
because you made an investment.
Because you made an investment.
Not a job,
and what if you got together with other like-minded? What if you and the whole union of truck drivers got together and bought a distribution center and bought hundreds of trucks, and now y'all run a network, You know that. In other words, and again, and I don't want to, because I don't want to expand too much, because I mean, really, people, you know, it's up to you to go out here and do this work, but you know, you just got to change the way that you think about it. Don't think that that the disruption is a problem. Right. Think of it as an opportunity.
Exactly. And you just, again, on decentralization, I've seen more platforms where people can, in fact, I'm trying to think of the name of one of these. It's got tokens somewhere in the name, but instead of in other words, you can invest $5, you know, and that they'll have specific property that's the target of the investment, and they say that, you know, we're raising the capital you put in, and so you might have 10,000 people who own a piece of this property, but again, because it's decentralized, as opposed to one person having to go out and get financed and go buy it, right. Those kind of things. All these different ways of you know, utilizing the technology. Sure. That is able to keep track of all these details, all right. These, you know, these discrete pieces of data.
It handles all the busy work,
all the busy work, and to the point of the truck drivers and all these other folks who, again, their industries and their jobs as they understand them today are being disrupted. Well, this isn't the first time this happened. I mean, no. You know, I just think because the area where I grew up was big on lumber. We call it pulpwood back in the day. But, you know, they now plant trees in rows like you would see corn, and they got these machines that pretty much go snip them off and load them onto the truck. And I mean, it used to be, you know, 4 guys in a truck out there taking all day to take down and maybe cut up a tree. Yeah. Now, you know, lumber is harvested just like any other crop, you know, right. And so again, that has evolved, and so many other things. So again, don't get left behind. You know, employ these things where they fit. Now, let's bring this back to you specifically and talk about technology and business. And, you know, talk a little bit about Silver Lining Consulting, you know, what you do at Silver Lining Consulting and some things that you would just use as examples in different areas of utilization where, you know, you can help guide people, as you have me, into a more productive and engaging use of technology to grow their businesses, increase their revenue, make more profit, take care of some minutia, just, right. You know, extemporaneously address that.
Thank you for that. Thank you. And I want to take a little bit of time and just, you know, catch up with our comments here before I do that, because without you all, you know, we wouldn't be here. So we appreciate you.
And today we are here.
And we're here, literally. We outside. So, you know, if y'all. So Edward Winton says exactly $1,200 investment 2 years ago in one of the Bitcoin type investments is now worth $250,000. Absolutely. Wow. And Ebony says to Marlon Brooks and the Maestro, the two of you should start a class. Let me know when the registration opens. Marlon Brooks comes back to say real estate is being tokenized with crypto also. Exactly. All of it will be, because again, that goes back to the whole smart contract type of, you know, thing, and then being paid and paying with the cryptocurrency itself, right? Which is all tied into the same technology. But yes, so with my company, my vision is it's very simple, to help people with technology. Okay. So that's always my goal. That's always my focus. Mm-hmm. So in order for me to do that, I have to make you more efficient. I have to make you more the things that build a business, like collaboration. I have to make it where, you know, all of your communication is more efficient. So you have to have these principles in place in order for your business to thrive, just in general, not even adding the technology part to it, right? In today's day and age, as we know, these closed ecosystems, and a big major example of this is Microsoft. Their company was actually what you would consider a closed ecosystem, kind of like what Apple is. Okay, I was right. Apple and so, and Microsoft was like that as well. Mm-hmm. They had a point where they couldn't get past, and they were actually about to start going down. So what they decided to do was they decided to open up their technology, start doing more open source.
Okay.
They started implementing more open source technologies into their technologies as well. And what happened was they saw a just an explosion of growth after that.
Right.
And I'm making that point just to tie in the point about collaboration. When you have an open source type of technology, you have a lot of collaboration because anybody can go out there and work on that technology and make it better. So you can literally do that. It's almost like charity, because you can, if you have the knowledge and you have the skill, you can I can go into the code and I can actually make improvements to the code that benefits everybody.
Wow, that's
See,
amazing.
and that's the type of thinking that you got to have. So when we translate that into a business, what does that look like? That looks like everybody in your organization